Hello friends, a very warm welcome to Coding Techniques again. So I have come up with 10 plus error screens which you can learn to build in this particular video. So with this, let's get started with our video. So out here you can already see that our project is up and running. So I have created a new project using the command Ionic start, and then I have selected the Angular framework out here, and there we go. If you do not know how to create a new application, well, you can click on the I button and it will redirect you to a video where I have shown you properly how to set up a new project. Now once the project is properly set up, what we will do is we have to run out here the command Ionic serve. So let me just show you in another PowerShell, because it is already up and running in my system. So you have to type this Ionic serve command and hit enter. So it will run in your port number 8100, and this is the URL which it is running as of now, and this is the design which is coming up by default, as this is a blank project, remember that. Now out here I'll simply remove all the headers and all the content and design it for our error screens. So let's see how it looks like. Now let's go to our homepage.html, and in here at first I'm going to remove this header, and I'll be using this iron content which will take the full screen size. Alright, the property is already defined out here, so we don't need to do anything else. Now I'll simply remove everything within our iron content. So now you can see it is showing blank out here. Now what I'll do is, within our iron content, I will have a div where I'm going to set the background image of that, for which, because I'll do it dynamically, so I'll be using style.background image property directly into our application. Instead of the SCSS, we can directly put it in our HTML, and out here I'll pass the URL, and within this URL we'll pass the dynamic data, because the motto of this video is to create the error screens which are dynamic. So you can create all kinds of error or empty screens with the same component itself with different data. So we will create a component for that, but as of now let me just design it up first. So out here what I'll do, as of now I'll pass a string which will redirect me to the assets folder, imgs folder, and within the imgs folder I already have a lot of images which you can get it by downloading my source code which I've already shared with you. So let us use the one.png file and let's see what it looks like. As of now we are unable to see any change out here, and so what I'll do is, in my SCSS I'll first of all remove everything and let me access my iron content. Within that I will access my div, and then out there I'll pass background position at first to be center, then background size to be cover, and background repeat to be no repeat. So these are few properties which we need to pass whenever we are working with the background image, so that it takes a full size of the screen and it is placed at the center and there are no repeats, so it won't repeat the same image again and again. And also I'll pass width and height to be of 100% so that it can take the full width and height. Alright, I think it's done. Let's check it out how it looks like. Alright, now you can see the image is showing up, isn't it? Now if you look at the image, it already shows that there is no connection, right? Maybe internet connection or anything else you can use it for. Now what we need to do, well, out here I'm going to place few things which will be basically the title, the subtitle, and its simple small description if you want to have, and at last if you want to have a button you can have that up. So let's design that up now. Now for doing that up, what I have to do, within this div, because everything will be present within this div only, so within this div I'll work with an iron grid, and within the iron grid I will have the iron row, and in fact in the iron row I'll work with the iron column actually. Now in the iron column I'm going to pass an iron label, and in the iron label I'll pass the title. So let me call out here, oops. Now as you can see this is showing up out here, right? Now after the iron label I will also have a p tag where I'll pass the subtitle. So I'll also pass a class out here called subtitle, and within that I will pass an iron text in which I'm going to pass the subtitle. So let's call out here something went wrong, or something wrong with, because we have to give the description also. So something wrong with your and we can give connection and other stuff, but that part I'll cover it up in the description, which will look nice. So with that, I'll simply copy this p tag, and after this p tag I'll have another p tag where this time the class will be description, and in the description I'm going to write connection, please try again. Alright, so that will be the description out here. Don't worry, we are going to align that up also. Alright, so text is coming up. Now it's time to align it properly so that it looks pretty nice. And for doing that up, let me access my div in my SCSS file, and out here I'm going to work with the ion grid, which it should be grid, not read. And in this I'm going to transform it to y direction, translate to y direction, and by 60 VH because it needs to be at the bottom side. So I think 60 VH will work. And there we go. It is showing up at the bottom side now. Now it's time to work with the ion column actually, which is present within our ion row, the ion column. Always better to have the hierarchy so that you don't face any kind of a trouble. Now we need to access the ion label, which is actually holding our title. So out there, let me pass font size to be 1.8 rem will be good because it needs to be bigger, and font weight to be bold. Alright, let's check it out. Alright, now you can see it is bigger and better. Similarly, I'll work with the p tag and I'll pass a font size of 0.9 rem and a font weight of 400. That will be better, I suppose. Let's check it out. Alright, this looks fine to me. Now we need to work with this subtitle thing because there are a lot of spacing which is not appropriate, right? So let's just first work with this subtitle. That is why the class is defined. So I'll pass a margin top of 4 VH and make it important. Then I will also pass some margin bottom to be 8 pixels and also make it important so that it doesn't get override by anything. Let's check this one. So now you can see out here we have a lot of space, and in here the space is somewhat reduced to some extent, right? Now in order to reduce it a bit more, what I'll do is I'll work with the description, because by default in a p tag I think it is getting a margin top of 16 pixels by default most probably, or whatever the value is. I will make it lesser than that. That is why I'm using that up. So margin top of 8 pixel will do the work. Alright, now you can see the spacing is reduced, right? Now if you want to see how I got that up, let me show you up that part also. So this is the inspect. Now I'll click out here and hover on this part. So this is a p tag. I'll access it, and as of now, well, the margin is 8 pixel out here. Now what happens if I just remove this? Let's see the margin. So by default it is giving us around 14.400 pixel margin, which is bigger than the one which we have, and that is why this comes into play. So it will reduce the margin. As you can see out here, it is changing, right? Now I'll just pass the margin and it is reduced. So that is what I'm doing it out here, which is looking really lovely, I would say. Now it is mostly aligned to the left side. I want it a little bit on the right side. So for doing that up, what I'll do is to my ion column I will pass an offset of 1. So 1 column offset will be there. Let's check it out. There you go. It is coming up nicely out here, right? Now if you want a button out here, what we need to do? Well, for that I will define another row. Now to this row I will have some margin at the top. That's gonna look better. And then within that I will have a ion column where I'm going to define my ion button, whose shape will be round. So the shape is round now, and let me not pass any color as of now. And within that I'm going to pass a title called retry, and I think it's gonna be better if we pass it within an ion text so that we can work with that. Alright, now you can see the button is also showing up, but I think I have to pass the offset out there also. So I'll simply copy this offset and pass it out here too. Alright, now it is looking nice. Now let me pass some shadow out there. So for that I'll go to the SCSS, and in here in the ion row only, within the ion column in fact, I'll work with the ion button. We'll pass a box shadow which is already a CSS property of ion button, so we can directly access using the dash dash. So I'll pass out here -1 pixel, 11 pixels, 13 pixels on all sides, -6 pixel, and the color it's gonna be RGB 87, 86, 86. Let's check it out. Little grayish color kind of stuff. Oops, it's gonna be pixels, not PC. Okay, the button spelling is wrong. It's gonna be BUTTON. Alright, now if you focus out here, you will see some shadow. Let's change the design to Galaxy S5 phone so that we can check it pretty nicely. Alright, so out here you can see the shadow, right? It's visible, isn't it? Which is looking nice out here. So this design is done. Now we need to play around with the color because every time we cannot give the black color, right? So things needs to be a little dynamic. Now in order to make it dynamic, what I have to do, we have to pass the color out here as per the requirement. Now every time I don't want to change it, so it's better to have all these values in a dynamic manner within an array or an object basically. Fine. So in order to do that up, let me show you how this can be done. So let me go to the TypeScript file, and out here what I'll do is I will declare few properties at first. The first one is the model of type any, which will be an empty object. Then I will have a screens array of type any array, and it will be an empty screen as of now, empty array actually. And the last one will be the index, which will be 0. You will come to know why I'm doing this in a second. Now in the home page, I want to implement on init so that I can directly use the ng on init out here. And within our ng on init, what I'm going to do, I will simply initialize this array with some objects that you can see out here, right? It has a background which will read our image in the background. Then we have the title is oops. Then we have a subtitle. Whatever you need in the subtitle, you can pass it out there. And then we have the description, which you can see out here, right? And after the description, we have the title color. So whatever color you want to pass in the title, you can pass it out here itself. And then we have another property called color, which is basically the color of these two, subtitle and the description, which will have the same color only most of the cases. All right. You can make it more dynamic if you want to have. The last one is I think the button. So the button, if you want to change the text, you can directly change it dynamically in this manner. And then the button color, which is very important. So you can change the button color also directly out here by passing it dynamically. Alright. This is the whole object which we are going to use. And in a similar manner, I have created an array of almost I think 12 objects. Alright. Which will have different images, and the styling is different, which I'm going to show you, don't worry. And at last, what I'm doing is in the model, I am initializing it to the 0 index screen. Basically, the first object in the array, I'm initializing that up so that I can see the same screen out here. Now, in order to implement this thing up in our design, what I have to do, at first, I will change this to model.title. Now you will see the same title. Now you see, even after giving this, we have the same title, right? Then similarly, I will pass it out here also model.subtitle. Then out here also model (description). Question mark is necessary. If you don't have that value, it won't give you the error. Then in the button also, I'll pass the text of model (button). Alright, you don't see any difference out here, because we have designed the array in the same manner only. Alright. Or one more thing is left. Out here I have to pass, no, not in this manner. I can directly pass model.background. Alright, you can see now even the background design is the same. Fine. So we have passed the main content dynamically. Now it's time to design it a bit more. With our colors, as I've already shown you, that we are passing the color in the object itself. So out here in the ion label, let's start with that. At first, what I'll do is, at first I'm going to pass a condition that it will show up only if we are passing some data in our ion in the title. If we do not have the title, it won't show up. So for that I'm going to check if the model has a title, then only it's going to show up. So this is a very important thing. And now the color, I will pass it as an input attribute, and within that I'm going to pass a condition model(title color). If it is present, then I'm simply going to pass model.title color. Otherwise, I will have a light color by default, which is basically the little lighter color than the white color, so it's gonna look nice. Alright, now you can see the color has changed to the light color. That's great. Now the similar stuff let me just copy it up, and for the Ion text also I'll do the same with the color, but not with ngIf. ngIf should be given in the p tag, because I don't want the p tag to occur if there is no subtitle in it in this case. Alright, and in here I'll check not the title color, in fact the color directly, because remember I told you about the color in the object, that if we have a color then we are going to pass that color, otherwise we will pass the light color only. And the same thing, let me pass it to our description also. Alright, just need to change this to description, that's it. Alright, now you can see the color of this has changed, which is little lighter. Alright, if you want to change the color you can change that up, but this is looking nice, right? Now for our Ion button also I have already declared the color dynamically, so similarly out here also I'll simply copy this up and paste it out here too in the Ion button, but out here we have the button color property. So if the button color exists, then it's gonna have the button color, otherwise we will have the primary color, not the light color. And there we go, you can see it is coming up. Now one more thing what I'll do is, in our Ion row out here for the button, I'll pass a condition out here that it will show up only if we have a button property in the object, because in some cases you might not want the button, so what's the use of having that button at that point of time, right? Alright, this is looking really nice, I would say. Now what happens if you want to place it at the center? In some cases you cannot put that up, right? As of now, if you have to do, you have to play around with the SCSS once again. Now in order to make that dynamic also, well, don't worry about it, I will show you how to do that dynamically too. So in our array, let me just show you up at the very end. In this one, number 4, I suppose, most probably number 5. Yeah. Now check this number 5 object. Out here I have something called center align to true. In fact in 4 also I do have that. In most of the cases I have. So center align, basically this property will help us to understand that if you want to center this whole thing up, so it will come at the center. Alright, so in order to check that out dynamically, what I will do is I will work around with that in our Ion grid. I'll pass a class attribute dynamically in this manner, and in here I'll first check if center align property in our model exists. Then I'm going to pass a class called Ion text center. Otherwise there will not be any class. I won't pass any class if we do not have it, a center align property which is not true, or if doesn't exist. Alright, now in order to check this up whether it gets centered, aligned or not, what I'll do is I will simply pass number 4, this one, directly into our index. So if index starts from 0, that means it's gonna be 3. Then we can access this fourth number, right? That is why I have defined it in this manner, so that we can simply change it up and check it out how it looks like in our system. So this will be set up in our model directly out here. Now you can see the design has changed and it is centered up, right? All the content is changed for this particular screen. The background image, the title, subtitle, description, and even the button also with the background. But it is not aligned completely at the center. And why is that so? Because we have given this offset. So we need to play around with the offset also out here so that we can align it properly. And for doing that up, I'll make it an input attribute, and in here I'm simply going to pass if center align does not exist in our model, then I will simply pass 1, otherwise it's gonna be 0, means no offset. And the similar thing, I'll copy it up and paste it in our Ion button also of the Ion column that is present within our Ion column, so that it works pretty nicely. The text is aligned, button is not aligned. Let's check this now. Now everything is aligned at this center, which is great, right? Looking really lovely out here. But still I want something to be done with the button to make it little bigger and better. For doing that up, if the button is at the center, I will apply some more styling out here. So for doing that up, I will access the class attribute out here, and within that I'm going to pass model.centerAlign. I'll simply check if center align exists. Then what I'll do, I will pass some classes, otherwise there will not be any class. So if there is a center align, then I will pass ion margin horizontal and ion padding horizontal to have some padding on the left and right side. If you want to break it up, you can do it in this manner. Alright, now you can see this button is looking little bigger and better than earlier one, right? We can see the shadow also pretty nicely out here. That is looking awesome, I would say. So our design is fully done. We are good to go. But if you want to check all the screens at once, what you have to do? If you want to play a slideshow out here, let me show you that part also. That's gonna be pretty interesting part, I would say. So let's achieve that up. We already have all the materials that we need to work with that. The only thing that we need to add up out here is basically a function that will autoplay everything. So out here, I will declare a function called autoplay screens, and within that, I will first check if the index equals to this dot screens dot length, because say like if the index is 10 and the screen size is also 10, that means we are accessing the 11th number index, which is not present in this screen. So at that point of time, what I'll do is I'll simply set this dot index to 0 so that we can loop it up again. Fine, are you getting me? Because if it exceeds the screen size, we need to run everything from the beginning again. That is why I'm setting the index to 0 at that point of time. And after doing that, I will pass a set timeout function where we will have a callback. You know about that already, right? And we will also pass a delay of 5 seconds. After 5 seconds, it's gonna time out and it's gonna run our function. All right. So what functionality I'm going to pass out here? Out here, what I'll do is I'll set this dot model will be equals to this dot screens, and I'll pass the index. So basically, I'm accessing that particular object within the screens array whose index is passed out here. All right. And this gonna be not index, actually this dot index, whatever the value of index is, it's gonna place out here. And once that is done, every time I'm going to increase the index by using the plus by 1. Actually, it's gonna increment that up. And after incrementing again, I'm going to run the same function within the set timeout so that it never ends. And of course, I need to call this function within our ng on init so that we can directly start with that whenever the page reloads or whenever the page loads actually. Now let's check this out. What happens this time? All right, so the design is coming up and there we go. You can see the design is changing, the object is changing. If you might have noticed at the very beginning, it took some time. And why is that so? Because out here we are setting the index, and out here also we are using the same index actually whenever I'm calling this one. So if the index is 0 at the beginning, it's gonna call the index 0 once again. So basically the first screen will stay for 10 seconds because out here we have given a set timeout of 5 seconds. This is in milliseconds. So 5000 milliseconds equals to 5 seconds. And for stopping that or for avoiding the first screen to occur again and again, what I'll do is I will increment this after having the first iteration in this manner. Because at the very beginning the model is set right, because I don't want to wait for 5 seconds to occur that up. So I'll set that up and then increment is done. Alright. Now even you can create another function for that to happen. That's gonna be great. Now let's reload. I'll click on this reload so that I can see it from the very beginning. Alright, first screen. Okay, this is not the first screen. And why that is happening is because out here I've given 3. Let me pass 0. Then it's gonna be nice. Alright, so this is our first screen. The second screen, just focus on the design part. This is the third screen. Now out here everything is centered up. This is the fifth screen. Out here also we have the center and the color is changed, looking really lovely out here, right? Again, another design. This is for no results. If you do not have anything in the search, you can just show that up. Then the location access, if you don't have that, you can show this design. This is the dead end if you do not have anything you're looking for. 404 error. If you're offline, you can just show this screen. Payment failed, you can show this screen. And if you do not have any connection, then you can show this screen also. So this is the whole thing. Again, you can see the loop is following up. So you can play around with this stuff in an infinite loop. Now, what is the next thing that we need to do out here? Well, I'll show you, because what happens is this div, this whole div, we cannot have this div in every places, right? So it's better to place it in a component. So what I'll do, I'll create a component out here, Ionic G, or in fact I will create a module at first, Ionic G module called components, or you can have the shared module also. This is actually a shared module and whose name I've given is it has components. If you want to give some other name, you can have that up. So let me create that up. Alright, the module is created and you can check it out here, right? Within the app folder we have the components folder, and within that we have the components module. And why I have created that you will come to know right now. But first of all, let me create the component actually, Ionic G component. Within our components folder, I'll name it as error screen or empty screen, whichever you want to have. I'll pass an empty screen component out here. Alright, let's create that up. That's gonna be the name of it. Alright, the component is created. Now the simple thing that I'll do is, let me cut this whole div from here and I'll paste it out here. That's gonna give me an error as of now, I suppose. Yes, because in our components module I have to import the Ionic module to use the Ionic components and import it up. Once imported, few more things you have to do. Out here let me declare a constant and I'll export it up called components, which will hold an array, and within this I'm going to pass the empty screen component. Import it up. Now in the declaration I can simply pass this component. Alright, and why I did it in this manner, because again I have to pass in the exports also. That is why I have put this up within the component, so that we can use the same thing out here and we don't have to repeat this empty screens again and again in the arrays in both the cases. Alright, so that is a quick thing which you need to apply. Now here I'm getting the error for the model. Well, that can be resolved if I pass an input attribute, an input property out here, which is called model. Need to import it up. Alright, the error is gone, isn't it? And the purpose of doing this is basically, you don't only need it in the home page, you might be needing in a lot of pages in your whole application, right? And you don't want to call this again and again in all the places. So the best part to call this module itself in your home module, like this is the home page, I want it out here, I'll simply call the components module out here, not the components, it's gonna be components module, and import it up. Right? So by importing it up, I have access to all the components which are present within the components module. Alright, so before moving ahead, what I will do, one more thing I need to do is cut this design from the div and nothing required in the ion content. I will simply pass all the things in our empty screen SCSS. Alright, fine. Now in our home page HTML, if I want to access that particular component, as the module is already imported, so I can directly call out here. You can see the suggestion will also come up. Already it has come up, app empty screen, right? I can directly call that up. And out here I have to pass the model. So I'll access the input attribute, which is already declared in our empty model screen, the input property. So I can access it up in this manner out here, and I'll pass the model directly. That's it. Alright, so now you can see everything is running as earlier one only. Hardly any change in it, right? Not hardly, no change at all in it. But we have done it in a proper manner, right? Now you can simply use this component wherever you want to have it. Also remember to include it in your module, this components module, and you will be able to access that up very nicely. So that is the beauty of using the dynamic thing out here. You just need to pass the object properly and you will get the design automatically. So you don't have the headache of designing the different screens again and again, isn't it? And in fact, if you don't want to use this images, you can simply have the icons and you can design little bit different, like the one I have shown in my course. So you can design that kind of screens also. So the concept is to design it at once and use it everywhere wherever you need. Alright, so you have seen how we have designed our error screens, or you can also call it empty screens in some cases. So now if you like this video, please hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do that up. Also, if you want to learn Ionic from beginner to advanced, you can check my course which is available at Udemy, which is running in bestseller right now. So go and grab it as soon as possible, and do let me know in the comment section that do you want a series on Uber Eats kind of an application where I'll design it up, the landing screen, the search screen, and the single screen page along with the cart page. So all these things I'll be preparing that up in a series which is a continuation for our auth screens for our food delivery application which we have already built. So if you want that up, comment me below, and the series will start from the coming Sunday. Alright? So I'm eagerly waiting to see your comments. Do let me know. So with that being said, I'll wrap up this video out here. Thank you very much for watching this video.